I have found myself trapped in some sort of mysterious capsule-like device. You really did pick a great time to drop in, Isseis. The one letting out a mirthful laugh as he activated this experimental contraption was none other than Azazel. I had come to bring some tea to his laboratory when he suddenly exclaimed, "Good timing." And with no more than that, he had thrown me right in here. I had no idea what was going on. No matter how hard I beat my fist against the walls of the capsule, it wouldn't budge. "What are you going to do to me, Teach?" "Well, there's something I wanted to attempt for a while, but I never had the proper test subject. And when you arrived with tea, I figured it was the perfect opportunity." "That's it? You're saying that you got no issue using a student like a guinea pig and tossing him in some kind of weird machine on a whim?" "Progress demands sacrifices." "What? You're already prepared to lose me? Get me out of this thing. No!" Beg as I did, Azazel had activated the contraption anyways. There was another capsule next to mine, identical in every way, save that it was empty. Was I the only one trapped? "Just what kind of experiment is this?" I demanded. Azazel glanced at me over his shoulder, opening his mouth to speak when there was a brilliant flash of light, as I was engulfed in a powerful explosion. Gah. There was so much smoke, but at least I was free to climb out of the device. Glancing around, I found the capsule I had been trapped inside was broken. Had it ruptured when the experiment failed? The room was in disarray from the blast, littered with broken objects and pieces of equipment. There was no sign of Azazel. He must have grown bored at this failed test and left it without saying anything. I wish he stayed so I could give him a piece of my mind, though. Using a student for his own private mad scientist procedures made him unfit to be a teacher. Perhaps I should have expected as much from the leader of the fallen angels. He definitely had a wicked way of thinking. Damn that Azazel, disappearing as soon as this experiment of his was over. I spat under my breath as I quickly left the laboratory. I headed for Kuo Academy's old school building. As I reached the club room, I heard a noise. It was a girl, Azia. Following the sound of its origin, I discovered her standing stark naked. Bah! Blood gushed from my nose. Yep, you sure matured a lot since we first met, Azia. As a brother-like figure to you, I'm moved. Suddenly destroying all my clothes was cruel, Isseis. She was staring up at me, her eyes brimming with tears. Uh-huh? What is she talking about? I had no memory of doing that. It was true that I had the special move, Dress Break, which could instantly shred the clothes of any girl I touched, but there was no way I would use it on Azia. Even if I had, I wouldn't forget the second after I'd done so. Hey, stop right there, Isseis. This time, it was Zenovia's voice that echoed down the hall. It sounded like she was chasing someone. I glanced over my shoulder, only to find myself running around the corner of the corridor. Oh, hold on. How can I be looking at myself? The guy was my spitting image. He dashed right past Ozzy and me, and I caught the sight of his lecherous face and prodigious nosebleed as he went by. Zenovia rounded the corner not long after, and she was just as naked as Ozzy was. She had a razor-sharp blade in her hands, too. Her eyes darted around wildly, and when they locked on me, she began to move in with her holy sword at the ready, her breath swaying all the while. I was a demon, so I would have been done for her if she hit me with that. Deader than dead. What makes you think that you could strip me naked and run off without even getting down to it? Wait, that's why she's pissed? Her way of thinking was utterly incomprehensible. She lunged towards me, prepared to strike. That's enough, you two, scolded someone unseen. Zenovia froze, her holy sword coming to a stop inches away from my face. I scanned the area and saw Akano standing beside Azazel, along with another guy who looked just like me.
The whole academy is filled with Isseis.
The press stated with a sigh, resting her hand against her forehead. An emergency meeting of the Occult Research Club was currently in session. All the Grimmer Familia members were standing by the window, observing the situation in the new school building through sets of binoculars. It was filled with copies of me. They were running amok throughout the school, chasing after all the girls who were still on campus now that classes were over, and using my dress break technique on every last one of them. There was so much bare skin that I didn't have time to visually devour it all.
This horde of Isseis are making their way through the whole school, stripping every girl that they come across.
The press explained with a look of stern worry. For her part, Koniko was staring formidably through her own set of binoculars, her petite body all but emanating menace.
I was attacked by one of them on my way here. I didn't know what he was trying to do, but I sent him flying.
What? Her rage was terrifying. Technically, I didn't do anything wrong, but I still felt like she wanted to hurt me.
What should we do with the ones that we got earlier?
Akano questioned, glancing towards a cage in the corner of the room. Contained within was one of the Issei copies.
This was the one that blew off Isseis and Zenovia's clothes, isn't it?
Akano reached out to touch the figure inside the cage when... "Show me your breasts! Your breasts!" He cried out with a lecherous grin as he tried to attack her. Whoa, that figure was a real menace. Everyone would need to be cautious, especially the girls. It looks like the Issei duplicates have a much stronger libido than the original, as Hazel stated.
So, this is the one who destroyed our clothes? I see. His face is much nastier than Issei's. A lot more pervy.
Ozzy and Zenovia, having changed into fresh uniforms, stared wearily at the imprisoned look-alike. I was just happy that we all agreed that I wasn't the one who attacked them. I would never use my dress break ability against Azia, who I thought of as a younger sister. And there was no way I could ever risk it using it on Zenovia. Her unreadable emotions meant she was a powder keg that could go off at any moment. Admittedly, I had used chest break to vaporize Azia's clothes in the past.
Hold on, Azazel. What exactly were you trying to accomplish with your experiment?
The press asked. Well, the first doppelganger started going berserk while I tested him. Because of that, I ended up with a bunch of copies. Anyway, I activated a barrier around the academy the second things went south, so they shouldn't be able to escape the school grounds. So I did keep the damage to a minimum. How dare he say all that so plainly while lounging on the sofa? What? Why were you conducting insane tests in the first place? And what do you mean, doppelganger? I demanded.
A doppelganger is like a spiritual copy of a person. It's a phenomenon wherein you could come face to face with yourself.
Akano explained. So these things really were me. Had that experiment produced duplicates? Ha ha ha. Issei chose a good time to come visit my lab. That's all. One copy would have been enough, but I slipped up and made a bunch of them. With enhanced libido. What a bother. As Hazel said with a hearty laugh. He didn't seem remorseful in the slightest. Are you saying this is all because of a slight error? I demanded.
Look, how many doppelgangers are we talking about here?
The press asked with a sigh, still covering her face with her hands. About 300. We were all taken aback by Zizzle's words. Naturally, there were 300 extra Isseis. That's... Azazel, do you realize what you've done? Are you trying to hurl this academy into the depths of darkness? You do realize that Issei is no ordinary pervert, do you? Kiba shouted in indignation. I didn't get to see the side of him very often. He said something pretty rude about me, I thought.
That many sick freaks walking around the school grounds is the stuff of nightmares,
Konoko muttered, quivering with rage. That murderous intent of hers was leveled squarely at me. How was this my fault?
300 Isseis? They're stripped me naked too.
Casper cried from inside his corporate box. Shut up, as if I would ever destroy a guy's clothes by mistake.
I'd love to have an Issei of my own, but not one that thinks only of sex. No, the original is best by far.
Akano said, embracing me in a hug.
I can feel her breast pressing up against me.
Thank you, Akano. You understand?
Indeed. In any event, we need to do something about this.
The press declared as she pinched my cheek. Ow, that hurts, Riaz. After talking to someone on his cell phone, Akiba announced, they've already caused considerable damage throughout the academy. Most of the girls still on campus had their clothes destroyed by dress break. The student council, that is, the Citra Familia, is trying to mitigate things, but seeing as most of their members are female too, they're having a difficult time making any progress. The student council was composed wholly of demons like us, and apparently, Kiba was in contact with them. More importantly, however, it sounded like those me lookalikes were wreaking havoc. I'm really sorry about this, Chairwoman Sona and Saji. Azazel had deployed a small magic circle in the air in front of him, operating it with his fingers like a touchscreen. A moment later, a blinding burst of light seemed to course through the entire academy. When it subsided, Azazel began to explain. I've put the remaining students to sleep to keep this from getting more out of hand, and I placed all the schoolgirls behind the individual barriers. That should be enough to stop the Isseis copies from doing anything indecent to them while they're unconscious.
Seriously? He did all that with a surge of light? The power of the governor knew no limits, huh?
Azazel bathed in the applause and compliments of our female members. Why did I feel so conflicted about this? This wasn't my fault, and yet it felt like everyone was blaming me. The fallen angel rose from his feet and declared, all that's left is to annihilate those Isseis. They should go up in a puff of smoke once they take damage. I knew he wasn't talking about me, but for him to use the word annihilate in that way, it left me feeling like an invasive pest. Well, there's 300 of them, so think of this like squashing bugs. An extermination. Don't say what I'm already thinking. Why are you so mean, Teach? I cried. He was the one responsible.
One Issei is enough.
I concur, President. Too many are liable to cause considerable damage. Shall we dispose of them? Reyes and Kiba were fired up.
A true enemy of all women. The worst phenomenon imaginable. We have to destroy them.
What? Konoko struck out her fist, clearly champing at the bit to smash my face. Our expressionless superhuman girl was a force to be reckoned with. It looked like none of them were particularly bothered by what Azazel had done, and were instead directing their energy toward defeating the copycat Isseis. You're awful, all of you. I'm the biggest victim here. Seriously, I'm going to break down in tears. Alright, everyone. Let's get to strategy. Don't underestimate the technology of the fallen angels. Thus, we devised a plan to defeat my many doppelgangers. Using the one copy that we apprehended earlier, we settled to developing our battle tactic. Seeing breasts make me feel so calm. Give them to me. Breasts. The imposter pleaded. He sounded just like a zombie in an old movie my dad had shown me a long time ago, but this was way worse than I thought. Were these guys suffering from some kind of disease? A breast deficiency syndrome or something? In any event, we put together a plan of attack. Strategy 1. Fishing. Azazel pulled out an object from his pocket with a dramatic flourish as a piece of light music sounded from somewhere nearby. First, we need a fishing rod. Then we can attach an erotic magazine to the end of this. And we're ready. He handed each of us one such rod, complete with a pervy magazine to use as bait. Apparently, we were supposed to dangle them out the windows of the club room and wait for the doppelgangers to bite. The offensive team waited down below, ready to destroy those imposters once they had been enticed by the trap. As it happened, I had been assigned to that group. However, would such a simple strategy really work? I had my doubts, and this was supposed to be the fruit of the scientific and technically advanced fallen angels? A kindergartner could have devised such a plan. No matter how sex-obsessed I am, I'm not stupid enough to fall for such obvious porn magazines, erotic pictures. Give them to me. They're mine. How could so many of my doppelgangers swarm around the fishing lures like that? I was so taken aback my eyes bulged. Were my copies all right in the head? They're biting at every line, Azazel. Kiba, one of the club members in charge of the fishing rods, seemed utterly stupefied by how well this succeeded. Konako lashed out, striking down and eliminating every last doppelganger that came running for the magazines. What a blood-curdling haul. You could say that again, Konako. I was utterly aghast. But there are other bands of Isseis watching on from our shadows, Gasper observed, pointing to the spots where more fakers were hiding. Evidently, some of my copies were more cautious than others. Use a hardcore magazine for those ones. They'll come. So saying, Azazel changed the bait on Gasper's line. No, they can't be that stupid, I thought. Yeah, right. Amazing. Azia quickly landed one of the supposedly cautious doppelgangers with a more explicit erotic book. While she did seem a little surprised by that, she also looked as if she was enjoying herself. Was she a fan of pervert fishing? Exterminate all the leechers. My cute petite underclassman was mercilessly striking down my countless doppelgangers. Another one. Konako's superhuman fist came racing my way. Couldn't she tell that I wasn't one of the imposters? Gah, a punch landed straight in my gut. She aimed right for my solar plexus. Konako, I'm the real one. You can't fool me. The real Isseis face is much littler than yours. Is that how she views me? Konako, it seems like this is the actual Issei. He hasn't disappeared after taking damage. Only after Zenobia, who was on the offensive team, pointed this out that Konako relent. Today was just one calamity after another. The fishing tactics allowed us to clear out close to half of the doppelgangers. Unfortunately, nothing would have helped soothe my conflicted feelings. Strategy 2. Seduction. Now that none of the copies were falling for our erotic magazine strategy, we realized that we needed a new plan of attack. They aren't going for the pervy books anymore. It looks like even Isseis is capable of learning. I guess Azazel had nothing but cruel insults for me today. Akuno, he called out all of a sudden. My sister-like upperclassman's usually cheerful expression turned sour. She didn't get along with the fallen angel one bit. What? I've got another plan, but we're gonna need your powers. As much as I despise the idea of taking orders from you, I'll hear you out. Akuno let Azazel whisper his plan to her, her expression only growing more conflicted. I suppose that might work. I could use Riaz, but we should probably keep her in our pocket as a last resort. Starting with you seems best, replied Azazel. Akano nodded with evident reluctance.
I understand.
Uh-huh? What were they talking about? Akano used a demonic magic to rearrange the corner of the room into a makeshift fitting area, and she stepped into it. She's changing clothes? I found myself pondering what outfit she might don. When she emerged, it was a bunny girl costume. Akano! Her wondrous legs were clothed in close-fitting tights. That erotic bunny getup emphasized her cleavage magnificently, and those ears completed the image. She already had a sexy body, but this costume boosted her powers beyond my imagination. See, even the real one's losing his mind for you. This should be super effective. Isseis chuckled as he took in my reaction. I couldn't help it. How could I not get excited for Akano in a bunny outfit? She stepped out from the old school building and, in a loud voice, called out,
Issei, my breasts are waiting for you.
There was a brief moment of silence. A wave of doppelgangers that hadn't fallen for a fishing strategy emerged, their faces contorted in perverted grins. Where had they all been hiding? Give it to me. They're mine. Those breasts are mine. Breasts. They all wore such lecherous expressions, but they were all deadly serious. Just how much did they want to devour those boobs? I wanted to have my fill of them too. Just when it seemed the doppelgangers would reach Akano, she struck. Lightning crackled as it streaked across the area, rocking the air with a thunderous sounds, and tearing through the imposter Isseis. Whoa. Attacks like that were Akano's specialty, and this barrage was enough to eliminate those doppelgangers in an instant. Talk about effective. My doppelgangers hadn't given so much as a thought to the fact that they were immediately destroyed and had leaped blindly towards Akano's chest, only for her to bury them, and not in a good way. Watching them all rush to their doom like moths to a flame was enough to bring a tear to my eye. Seriously, you guys, what are you doing? This bunny girl Akano strategy certainly seemed to be working. Nonetheless, I felt empty inside. Hey, doppelgangers, was that momentary flash of hope, that brief glimpse of Akano's boobs before your cruel demises worth it?
Oh dear, I would gladly dress up in a bunny costume for the real Issei. I'm so sorry about this, all of you.
Akano said to the fallen doppelgangers. I was so moved by her words that I wanted to leap into her arms, but I restrained myself. Isseis tapped me on the shoulder and nodded in understanding. His expression was one of sorrow, and yet he was holding a video camera. Do you mind if I show this to my colleagues later? It's hilarious. I don't think anyone would blame me for hitting you right now. Isseis and I began to lash out at each other. Later, I wrote a haiku on this matter. A burst of lightning, leaping to their destruction. Summer Memories by Issei Hyodo. Strategy 3. Imitation from the Governor of the Fallen Angels. We had already eliminated around half the total doppelgangers prior to employing our bunny girl Akano stratagem, and now there were only 10 remaining. We decided to adopt a new strategy as we moved to the final phase of our operation. Foolish Isseis. Isseis was standing perched on the roof of the old school building, clad in an outfit that made him look like a boss of an evil organization. And having unfurled his 12 black wings, he certainly looked like a wicked leader. He crowded at the top of his voice to all the remaining doppelgangers that had yet to show themselves. Take a look at this! Next to Isseis was the present address. She was the very portrait of a damsel in distress, a captive princess. Yet, strictly speaking, she was a princess, and that outfit really did look amazing on her. This was our final gambit, using the prez as a hostage to lure out the remaining doppelgangers. If Reyes was ever genuinely captured by an enemy bigwig, I would lay my life on the line to save her. She was my master, and more importantly, the woman who I loved the most. Therefore, Azazel's tactic was to take advantage of my love for her. How thoroughly despicable of him. I should have expected no less from the head of a real-life evil group.
Help me, Isseis.
The Prez didn't seem wholly enthused by this. Her tone of voice was obviously stifled. I could hardly blame her, however. Even I thought this was a bit of a farce. Azazel sighed in response at her half-hearted acting. Hey, Riaz, put a little more feeling into it. You sound phony.
That's easy for you to say. What makes you think that this will even bring out the Isseis doppelgangers?
Just as the Prez had said, my remaining imposters were nowhere to be seen. You're right. At this rate, we'll never get any of them. But I've got an idea. Azazel paused there, inhaling deeply before bellowing. Listen up. I'm gonna grope Riaz's breast myself. You hear me? If you don't like the sound of that, you better rescue her. How could he scream something so absurd? Hey, grope the Prez's breasts. No one told me that the plan was gonna go this far. He was just acting, wasn't he? Azazel wouldn't actually do it, right? What a wicked ploy. Using the Prez's breasts as the hostages. I shook my fist in anger. Konako exhaled an evident exasperation.
This plan is disgusting.
You can say that again, Konako. Azazel addressed the doppelgangers once more. If you don't come out by the count of 10, I'm gonna do it. You got that? I'll grab him as hard as I can. I'll force you to watch me do something to her that you've only ever dreamed about. His fingers flexed lewdly.
You're really going all out there.
The Prez remarked with a displeased sigh. I'm not the boss of the Fallen Angels for nothing. Leave this kind of thing to me.
Very well. I suppose I should try a little harder too, then.
The Prez took a deep breath to affirm her resolution before crying out.
Isseis, help me.
What an adorable scream. My heart skipped a beat just hearing it. Riz's plea was enough to convince the remaining doppelgangers to show themselves. Their faces were so stern. Even if the most distinguishing feature was their insane level of sexual desire, it looked like they really did care about the Prez's safety. I was moved by their senses of loyalty to her. Look, the rest of those idiots have popped out, just as I expected. Did you see that, you guys? That's the science and expertise of the Fallen Angels at work. Azazel declared triumphantly. How exactly did this require any science or expertise? Still, his helpers did sound convincing, probably because Azazel was always incredible, even when messing around. Azazel fired a merciless beam of light from his fingertips that pierced the doppelgangers, obliterating them. There was a huge explosion, powerful enough to send a few of the remaining imposter Isseis flying. Man, that attack packed one hell of a punch, and Azazel was likely holding back. His power level was positively terrifying. He continued to unleash more destructive rays at those doppelgangers that were trying to fight back. With no means of countering the deadly bombardment, the copies were reduced to nothingness. A chill ran down my back as I imagined myself falling victim to the attack. Azazel remained oblivious, breaking into a mirthful laugh. See that? Those Isseis are no more than trash. He sounded like he was enjoying this.
Hold on, Azazel. You're going a little overboard. You realize that we're the ones who will have to repair this damage, right? Maybe I should build the Fallen Angels.
The Prez's expression was one of profound displeasure. Don't say that, Riaz. It's just a bit of fun. During this exchange, the last remaining doppelganger was pulling his wounded body upright, taking off once more towards Azazel.
He looks desperate,
Azia whispered from beside me, worry plain on her face. This certainly didn't look like something we could afford to ignore. Then, the doppelganger called out, "I'll save the Prez!" My heart was moved by that cry. that was precisely how I felt. Before I knew it, I had taken that doppelganger's hand in my own. My counterpart stared back at me with suspicion, but nonetheless exclaimed, "Let's go. This is Azazel's fault. Let's save the press together." Yeah, this was the fallen angel's doing. I had almost forgotten that vital point. As the doppelganger and I shook hands, we truly connected. Our minds were one. Let's go. The doppelganger and I charged towards Azazel. He started all this. We had finally realized the truth. There would be no peace at Kuwan Academy unless Azazel was brought to his knees. So they decided to team up, have they? Jeez, you ain't leaving me with much of a choice here. Another luminous beam glanced forward. The doppelganger and I managed to dodge it, but only just. We couldn't afford to fall now. Not until we defeated this last boss, Azazel. So you evaded. How about this then? A consecutive volley, rapid-fire race, explosions erupted all around us. But we charged forward undaunted, like the protagonist in his superhero TV show, confronting a villainous mastermind. Whenever one of us fell to our knees, the other would help him back up, and we would push on. Unfortunately, Azazel refused to cease his attacks. A beam was racing straight for us, yet it deflected before striking us down, and the ones who stopped it were Kiba and Zenobia. Each of them had a sword in their grip. The two grinned at me. I can't exactly say why that happened. My body moved on its own. Yeah, same here. Something inside told me I should help while watching you. At that moment, a gentle green glow enveloped me and the doppelganger, healing our wounds. My whole body felt lighter. It was Isseis' power that had restored us. Seeing you two struggle caused something to well up inside my heart, she said. With Ozzy by my side, I could feel my courage multiplying 100-fold. Indeed. Now that I think about it, isn't Azazel the root of all of this? Even Akano had elected to join our noble cause. It might be good to rake him over the coals every once in a while. I don't really know what's going on, but let me help. Konako and Casper joined the fray too. It looked like my doppelganger and I lit a fire in everyone's souls. Thanks, everyone. You're all good people. We were true friends and comrades in arms. Let's crush Azazel. Now that we had recognized the true evil here, we stood united under one cause. Together, we charged towards Azazel, the wicked governor of the fallen angels. There was no doubting that he was the most sinister person here. The person in question was so shocked by this sight that his eyes opened wide in alarm. Huh? You're all teaming up. It'll do you a bit of good to face some punishment now and again. You do have a habit of getting up to some awful things. The president remarked with a deep nod. You've got to be kidding me. Azazel was utterly stupefied. He clearly hadn't foreseen this development. He spread his black wings wide, ready to take off and escape, but we were there before his feet could leave the rooftop, catching his leg to prevent him from fleeing. I won't. Not here. Ugh. He screamed with a cry worthy of a final bounce as we brought him down. Did you have the gang up on me? Bullies. Azazel groaned, his body completely covered in bandages. How can you say that? This is your fault, you know. Akano shot back with a grin. Exactly. Why don't you reflect on your actions, Azazel? The prez added. Nah. It looked like he had no response to that. Once we had caught him, we made sure to give him a thorough disciplining. A bit of humility never hurt anyone. None of this would have happened if not for that experiment he conducted on a fickle whim. Your doppelganger, it looks like he's disappearing. I turned around at Gasper's words and saw that my doppelganger was indeed fading away. The imposter Isseis must only last for a limited span of time. I gave my disappearing comrade a silent salute, which he reciprocated. It had only been a short battle, but we fought arm in arm. Glancing around, I found Ozzy, Zenobia, and Gasper saluting him too. We had all marched on the futile battle together. A moment later, my doppelganger was gone from this world. He vanished with a look of satisfaction at helping defeat Isseis. In the end, he had done a great deed. We decided that erasing all the members of the doppelganger's mischief from the minds of the regular students was the best course of action. That way, we can hopefully prevent any rumors from spreading around about my stripping everyone naked. No, if we erase their memories completely, it'll cause many other problems. So I'll just erase all details of the doppelgangers. In other words, they still remember that you destroyed their clothes. As they so explained. Uh-huh. What exactly did... But before I could voice my concern, Keeper pointed down to something out the window. This is bad. There's an army of girls marching on the old school building. What? I glanced down from the rooftop when... There he is, Hyoto. That pervert. How dare you destroy our clothes? Get down here. You're as good as dead. We'll make you regret ever trying to defile us. Hazel's sleep technique had clearly worn off quickly because everyone was awake and at our doorstep. The hoarder girls with tattered clothes radiated pure bloodlust. They're going to kill me. Sorry about this, Isseis. I'll treat you to a meal sometime. So just try to hang in there for now. With a casual laugh, Hazel vanished. Don't just run away. What kind of teacher are you, you accursed fallen angel? What? My body felt suddenly weightless. Konoko had lifted me up into the air. We can't let you drag the rest of us into this. Please sacrifice yourself for our survival. My adorable petite underclassmen threw me into the horde of murderous schoolgirls. A group of athletic girls caught me like a baseball before dropping me into the middle of the crowd. I was surrounded by young women. In a way, it was a harem of sorts, but certainly wasn't the kind I wanted. They were all glaring at me, silent and foreboding. Hostility washed over the area like ocean waves. I scurried to my knees, desperately trying to flee. They were going to kill me for sure. Don't you dare, Hyoto. The girls cried out as one, giving chase. What? Teach, where are you? Damn it, I swear I'll take you down with me. With an army of furious hot girls at my heels, I wept as I raced around the school grounds in a mad search for the missing Azazel.